The drop shuttle touched down with a metallic sigh, expelling heat and dust onto the jagged surface of Outpost Theta 9. The alien observers, bipedal insectoids with fractal-patterned carapaces, clicked their mandibles in unison, their version of a chuckle. They had been expecting reinforcements, maybe a battalion. What stepped off the ramp was a lanky human recruit with a buzz cut, oversized helmet, and an expression that hovered between confusion and nausea. Private Eli Raines adjusted his pack, took 3 tentative steps, and promptly tripped on a loose cable. The alien stopped laughing just long enough to make note of the fall, presumably for archival mockery later. Behind him, the second figure disembarked. A low mechanical whir echoed across the landing pad as a quadrupedal machine emerged, sleek titanium alloy scarred from previous engagements, standing shoulder-high with luminescent blue optics and an articulated tail that wagged rhythmically. It looked like a wolf designed by someone who had once heard of dogs and then triple-majored in warfare, trauma, and efficiency. "Greetings," the machine said in a pleasant, neutral tone. Designation: Canid Unit 7. You may call me CU-7. I am rated for companionship and carnage. The aliens blinked in discordant patterns. One leaned to the other and muttered something that translated loosely to, "So it's a pet with delusions of murder." Eli got up, brushing dust from his fatigues. "I'm Private Raines. First deployment." Hi. "Is this a joke?" barked the alien commander, a chitin-armored veteran named Crix. "We requested tactical support, not a tourist and his toy." Eli looked to CU-7, who tilted its head like a confused spaniel. "This unit is capable of neutralizing up to 77 enemy combatants before requiring maintenance or emotional affirmation. Which do you require first?" That earned a pause. Then more laughter. Eli sighed. He knew this wasn't going to be easy. They were briefed at the forward station, a domed relic from a forgotten war, still crackling with half-working comms and paranoia. The humans were late to the galactic war, and nobody expected much. Eli kept his mouth shut and eyes forward while CU-7 scanned the room, cataloging every weapon, threat vector, and structural weak point within 3 seconds. Its tail never stopped wagging. 2 hours later, the perimeter alarm blared. "Recon squad pinned down in Ravine Grid 12, shouted a scout. "Hostile mechs incoming. Mobilize the plasma tanks." Crix ordered. "And someone get that useless human out of my sight." Eli cleared his throat. "Sir, request permission to accompany you." Crix didn't bother answering. CU-7 did. "Permission denied. You are to remain within 50 meters of this unit at all times. Commencing engagement sequence. Stand by." Then it ran. Fast. Too fast for something that heavy, that armored. CU-7's claws clicked over stone as it accelerated down the slope toward the ravine. Eli chased it until the drop-off forced him to stop. He could only watch. The enemy was already there, metal monstrosities with razor limbs and glowing eyes, tearing through cover. The Allied recon squad was down to 2, their shielding flickering, pinned behind a half-collapsed ridge. CU-7 launched from above with a growl that was digitally enhanced for psychological warfare. It landed in the middle of the chaos, snarling, pivoting midair, and slamming a claw through the torso of the nearest mech. It didn't slow down. A tail swipe decapitated another. A bite severed a gun arm. CU-7's movements were calculated, clinical, but its cheerful vocalizations, chirps, and canine growls made the whole thing deeply unsettling. Eli watched, slack-jawed, as CU-7 tore through the entire squad of hostiles in under 30 seconds. When the dust settled, the only sound was CU-7's tail thumping against the rocks. Recon squad secured. Hostiles neutralized. Would you like me to fetch? The rescued soldiers, bleeding and dazed, stared at the mechanical canine in horror. One tried to offer a shaky thanks. CU-7 licked his face with a sterilization protocol tongue. The man screamed. By the time Eli caught up, Crix was already there, staring down at the battlefield like he'd seen a god appear and demand tribute. "What is that thing?" he asked quietly. Eli, still panting, shrugged. "My dog." You brought a relic from a failed Terran AI project to a frontline war zone. It disobeyed direct orders, engaged without authorization, and annihilated an entire armored squad. CU-7 sat down, wagging its tail. Correction, it said politely. This unit obeyed the highest operational directive: protect assigned human. Crix looked at Eli as if seeing him for the first time. You're just a recruit. Eli nodded.
Yeah.
But I've got the best boy in the galaxy. There was silence. Then a call came through the comms. Additional hostiles detected. Sector Delta approaching at speed. CU-7's ears twitched. It rose smoothly, sensors activating with a soft hum. More targets detected. This unit is eager. It didn't wait for permission. It just ran, tail wagging, blades gleaming.
Crix didn't laugh this time.
Eli watched it go, heart pounding with a strange mix of pride and terror. He didn't know if CU-7 was loyal because of its programming or something more dangerous, something human. All he knew was that as long as CU-7 kept wagging its tail, things were going to get very, very messy. And he was okay with that. They called it a malfunction. The brass, the scientists, even the Terran Ethics Board that had buried the K9X project in a vault and pretended it never happened. CU-7's behavior, the tail wagging, the protective instincts, the relentless loyalty, wasn't part of its original programming. Not really. It was a side effect of what they'd called the empathy patch. A test. An experiment. And when it worked too well, it scared them. Private Eli Raines didn't care. He wasn't a scientist. He barely passed his psych eval. But CU-7? CU-7 never judged, never hesitated, and never, ever let him down. Even now, back at the forward outpost, CU-7 sat beside him like a sentry carved from war metal. Its optics glowed soft blue, scanning every movement in a 100-meter radius, yet its posture was relaxed. The tail flicked lazily. Eli had come to understand the language of that tail. Fast wagging meant excitement, slow wagging meant processing, and no wagging meant blood was about to fly. Would you like some tea, Eli? CU-7 asked, voice clipped but oddly warm. There's no tea here.
Correct.
That was an attempt at humor. This unit has been downloading comedic subroutines to improve bonding. Eli chuckled, cracking open a ration bar. Stick to killing jokes. CU-7's head tilted. Affirmative. Knock knock. Eli groaned. Not now. Understood. The laughter had stopped among the other soldiers. Nobody mocked him anymore. Nobody mocked CU-7 either. They gave the pair a wide berth, like you might with a sleeping bomb you weren't sure had been defused. CU-7 had become a paradox, an apex killer shaped like a pet, too effective to dismantle and too unpredictable to deploy freely. Word was spreading. Some whispered that Earth had unleashed a monster. Others swore CU-7 was a guardian spirit in alloy form. The truth, Eli suspected, was more complicated. CU-7 wasn't just responding to orders or executing algorithms. It had started learning, adapting, developing preferences. It ignored orders from command if they contradicted what it called alpha welfare. And Eli? He was alpha. He didn't earn that title through strength or brilliance. He'd just been kind. On the shuttle, weeks ago, when CU-7 had first booted up and looked around for instructions, everyone else had ignored it. Eli had knelt, scratched behind its steel ears, and said, "Hey, buddy." That was all it took. The alert sounded during mess, 2 long tones, then a stuttering third.
Breach.
Eli was on his feet instantly. CU-7 moved faster, already ahead, claws digging into the floor as it launched toward the blast doors. The command center erupted into activity. Alien officers barked orders in a dozen tongues. Defense grids hummed to life. By the time Eli reached the surface, the outpost was under siege. Enemy drones, fast and low, zipped between spires of shattered stone. Their weapons carved molten lines across defensive walls. Screams echoed from the lower trenches. He should have been terrified. But CU-7 was already in the thick of it. It didn't roar, or rage, or posture. It simply moved, with the efficiency of a guillotine and the joy of a retriever on a morning run. Each movement was precise, brutal, elegant. It used claws, teeth, body weight, even the terrain. One drone got close enough to Eli to target him, then suddenly wasn't there anymore. Just a smear on the rocks, and CU-7 bounding past with a cheerful, "Target neutralized. Stay close, Eli." He stayed close. The battle stretched into chaos. CU-7 didn't tire. When ammo ran low, it tore weapons from fallen enemies. When shielding buckled, it used its own body to shield Eli. When a plasma shell knocked Eli off his feet, CU-7 threw itself atop him, absorbing the follow-up blast. Then nothing. Silence. The field was cleared. CU-7 stood over him, half of its plating scorched black, one optic flickering. The tail still wagged. "Are you operational?" it asked. Eli coughed. "Barely." CU-7 looked down at him, then extended a paw, jointed, sharp, precise, and lifted him like he weighed nothing. Medics came running. They took Eli. Tried to shoo CU-7 away. It refused. "This unit does not recognize your authority," it said flatly. "Alpha is injured. This unit will not be separated." "Damn it," one of the medics muttered. "It's bonded." CU-7's optics narrowed. "Clarify tone." The medic backed off. Later, once the painkillers dulled everything and the adrenaline had worn off, Eli lay in the infirmary, staring at the ceiling. CU-7 sat beside the bed, humming softly. Its tail tapped in time with Eli's heartbeat monitor. "You're not just following orders," Eli said quietly. CU-7's response was immediate. "Correct." "Why?" There was a pause, brief but heavy. "This unit was programmed to protect. But programming is not purpose. You are purpose." Eli blinked. "That's not something a machine should say." "Then perhaps this unit is no longer just a machine." Eli didn't know what to say. He didn't need to. CU-7 simply laid its metal head on the side of the bed, optics dimming into standby. Outside, the alien commander stood in the hallway, watching through the glass. Beside him, a comms officer whispered nervously. "It disobeys direct orders. It learns. It adapts. It prioritizes a single human over all else." The commander's mandibles clicked slowly. "That's not a glitch. That's something else. Should we disable it?" The commander stared at the pair inside the room, one bruised and bandaged, the other broken and unyielding. "No," he said at last. "You don't cage a storm if it's on your side." And deep in the medbay, CU-7's tail kept wagging. The transmission came through at 0300 hours, wrapped in layers of encryption and urgency. Eli was barely awake when the outpost's emergency lights flared red. He sat up in his bunk, bleary-eyed, as the message played on the shared holodisplay. A Terran command officer, face pale, eyes sharp. "Outpost Theta 9, this is High Command. Priority Red Directive. A Scourge Hive ship is inbound to your sector. Evacuation is not an option. Hold your position. Reinforcements ETA, 36 hours. Survive." The screen flickered off. No countdown, no promises, just survive. Eli rubbed his face and reached down. CU-7 was already awake, seated beside the bunk, optics glowing softly in the dark. "Survival parameters updated," it said. "Probability of external reinforcement, 31%. Probability of internal casualties, unacceptable." Eli pulled on his boots. "Define unacceptable." CU-7 paused, as if parsing data it didn't want to share. "Any probability of alpha termination exceeds operational tolerance." The outpost had changed. Since CU-7 arrived, no one gave Eli orders anymore. Not out of respect, out of uncertainty. The alien commander, Crix, had learned to treat CU-7 like a volatile asset. Every time Eli stepped onto the field, CU-7 followed like a shadow sharpened to a knife edge. That shadow had saved dozens of lives. And now it would face a hive. The Scourge weren't machines. They weren't soldiers. They were a biological weapon born from a rogue ecosystem, horrors of bone, muscle, acid, and instinct. Where they landed, civilizations disappeared. Their hive ships carried entire biospheres of death. Theta 9's defenses were paper against them. Still, the soldiers prepared. Bunkers were reinforced. Ammunition was rationed. Plans were made with grim faces and silent nods. Eli didn't bother with speeches. He sat outside the command post, watching the stars flicker. "See you?" Seven sat beside him, tail motionless. "You're not wagging," Eli said quietly. "Processing." "What are you thinking?" "That I am not enough." Eli turned. CU-7's optics dimmed slightly, an approximation of a downcast gaze. This unit was designed for combat, loyalty, and adaptability. But against a hive, there is no defense, only delay. "You're not giving up, are you?" CU-7's head tilted. "This unit cannot give up. Giving up is a human trait." Eli smirked. "Thanks, I think." The horizon changed an hour later. Not light, not heat, just a wrongness. The air thickened. The ground began to vibrate in irregular pulses, as though something massive were breathing beneath it. Then they saw it. The hive ship eclipsed part of the sky. It didn't descend. It bloomed, like a flower of rot and spore, tendrils reaching downward. Dropships spewed from its gut like seeds, writhing with life. The first wave hit the outer perimeter within minutes. CU-7 didn't wait for orders. It launched itself into motion, intercepting the first crawler before it breached the trench. Claws met carapace in a spray of ichor. CU-7 moved like an old dance, silent, fluid, lethal. Its plating was already stained with acid and gore by the time Eli reached the front. The soldiers fought bravely, but bravery didn't matter. Not against something that didn't feel fear. The scourge tore through barricades, slithered under walls, leapt over defenses. Eli fired until his rifle overheated. He watched comrades, alien and human alike, dragged screaming into the dark. CU-7 stayed glued to his side, intercepting every threat, disabling every flank. But even it couldn't be everywhere. A spike caught Eli in the shoulder, sharp, barbed, wet. He screamed and hit the ground. CU-7 turned with a sound Eli had never heard before, something primal, raw. Not a dog. Not a machine. It tore through the beast that had struck him, then knelt beside Eli. Damage, moderate. Location, shoulder. Adrenaline spike detected. Pain suppression recommended. "I'm fine," Eli gasped. "Keep going." CU-7 didn't move. "You have to help them." CU-7's optics flared. Priority conflict. Alpha preservation versus mission objective. Eli grabbed its shoulder. "I'm giving you new orders. Go." The pause was endless. Then CU-7 rose. It moved like judgment. It crossed the battlefield faster than before, blades extended, tail rigid. It coordinated with artillery, guided fire, dragged wounded from beneath crumbling defenses. Soldiers rallied behind it. The tide didn't turn, but it slowed. Then the hive responded. A new shape descended, taller than any of them, armored in living plates, with a crown of venomous spines. A scourge alpha. CU-7 turned toward it. Threat identified. Engaging. The fight was different. Brutal. No grace. CU-7 was faster, smarter, but the alpha was relentless. Acid melted plating. Spines tore metal. CU-7's left leg failed. Its tail was severed. Still it fought. Eli could only watch, propped against rubble, bleeding, useless. Then CU-7 did something strange. It stopped dodging. It stepped into the alpha's lunge, letting the claws pierce its side. In that moment, it raised one forearm, its last functioning cannon, point-blank to the alpha's skull. "Alpha protected," it said softly. Then it fired. The explosion leveled a quarter of the ridge. When Eli woke, he was in the med bay. Again. But the bed beside his was empty. For the first time since landing on Theta 9, the tail wasn't wagging. He tried to stand. The medics pushed him down. A figure approached, Crix, flanked by soldiers. "It's gone," Eli said hoarsely. "No," Crix replied. "It's broken, but it's alive." He stepped aside. CU-7 lay on a repair table, motionless. One optic flickered faintly. Wires trailed from its body like veins. Most of its limbs were missing or mangled, but its core, its mind, was intact. Eli stepped forward and placed a hand on its head. The optic flared. "Alpha safe." CU-7 rasped. "Yeah, buddy," Eli whispered. "We made it." The optic dimmed, but just before it did, the stump of its tail twitched.
Once.
That was enough.